Chart update, 28th April, a day of satire. New York's gold and silver medals at the 2020 Paralympics have inspired a new generation in media relations. There comes a point at which what you're observing isn't even worth criticizing. It has gone beyond any pretense at being reasonable but wrong. It enters the realm of farce or satire. New York has entered that realm. Here is Governor Cuomo in what is presumably a current picture taken from the New York press briefing, 28th April, acknowledging the empty streets of New York. He looks like a man celebrating a US victory at the Olympics, rather than a man presiding over the most devastating plague in American history. I refer not to the COVID-19 virus, but the Cuomo virus. Here is New York City outstripping even the state of New York, with an eye-watering 1.9 million New Yorkers per 100 million population, or 2 in every 100, or 1 in 50 of the entire population of New York City. And all this has happened in lockdown, making it the single greatest medical and policy failure in US history, though we could perhaps find a few worthy contenders. Does he have any reason to grin other than perhaps because he knows perfectly well that the figures are entirely bogus, in line with the empty hospitals shown to us on YouTube? Here is the log chart, rather cluttered with regions in and out of the US who might have thought they had been badly hit. I'll put both full screen for a second. Let us put these extraordinary figures into perspective, with New York City and the state of New York outstripping Hubei, the benchmark for viral outbreak, 16 and 13 times respectively. New York City outstrips bronze medalist Iceland, either the worst hit or most tested country in Europe, 3.5 times. It outstrips the rest of the continental USA 8.5 times, California 16 times. New York City swept past Italy, long the most devastated country in Europe, to now exceed it 5.7 times, and the UK 8 times, and all this during lockdown. Still managing to outstrip no lockdown Sweden 10 times. New York City is the poster child for the utter failure of lockdown, or it would be if the figures were in the slightest way plausible. In the proper Olympics, hobbled and finishing 10 times faster than a free runner would be a sure thing for a drug test. In the world we live in, however, only challenging official doctrine can possibly result in censure, removal from YouTube, or other modest threats to free speech. And the crowd of investigative reporters, nowhere to be seen. Canada must be grateful to only have a normal, deceitful politician in charge, as they escape getting off 14.5 times more lightly. Australia, 70 times. Mexico, 163 times. Iraq and Thailand, over 400 times. Is this a man in fear of his position for presiding over the most catastrophic gubernatorial failure in American history? If Volkswagen fudges some air quality numbers, America is ready to shut down Volkswagen in the EU, but getting New Yorkers 70 times as sick as Australia, 400 times as sick as Iraqis and Thais, no problem. It is the most astonishing parallel universe I have ever experienced, far more bizarre than 9/11, where you only had to be naive. Here you have to be naive, ignorant, head stuck in the sand, and utterly loyal to your own leader's betrayal. But enough already. It is America's prerogative to be ignorant about its situation, and we have our own blind population to concern us in the UK. Iceland and Italy hover over us, Iceland like a praying mantis, but notice the pink line of the UK heading literally straight and ignoring the projection. Let's get the normal slide out of the way, and Italy likewise. So Italy fine, but EPP, extended post-peak, And UK likewise going flat, like it resents the idea that cases go down as a virus contagion burns out. But we're not in a virus contagion, are we? In a virus contagion, the government would report the figures and we'd wring our hands and get on with our days. Instead, the government has done everything possible to create the biggest crisis since the Second World War, and it's done a magnificent job. Meantime, lockdown is working, except it never has, the actual virus following our projected no lockdown scenario with astonishing precision, when finally we get a breakaway. Lockdown finally having an effect? You jest. Instead of curling over as the contagion collapses, it continues ahead in a perfectly straight line. That is neither exponential nor normal, and has nothing to do with the virus. Led by the world's leading scientists and statisticians, either they're no interest in accurate reporting, and that's a program of testing, brilliantly finding people with the virus but not enough symptoms to be sick, excellent job, or they can't even be bothered to make it look like a virus anymore. Who knows? After the Cuomo virus, the Bojo virus looks positively rational. And if you think, well, your projection is wrong, I had the same concerns, so we took another entirely different approach. Measure the rate of change of case growth. With an exponential curve, there should be none until finally lockdown hits and the rate of case growth falls away. How many of you have heard the growth in new cases is falling? Lockdown is working. Quick reminder, I give 70 patients an anti-fever pill, fever drops in 35 patients. I claim my pill is effective in 50% of cases. Am I right? If you answered yes, you failed your analytical thinking test and you're our great hope. What chance do you think the average schmuck has on what passes for modern education? If I also give another 70 patients a sugar cube and in 35 of them the fever drops, what does that tell you? 70 plus pill equals 35 fever drop, 70 plus sugar equals 35 fever drop, pill equals sugar equals no effect. Control, placebo, critical for experimentation. What if the growth in new cases is always declining from day one? It doesn't, it's exponential. And who told you that? That converging cone is descending. The green line, average of that cone, is descending. The pink wavy solid line is descending, and all from day one. We are being lied to every day. Exponential lockdown is working, and not one mathematician funded by the government happens to notice. Universities celebrate their PhDs' work to increase compliance with lockdown, but not one academic has noticed this. The scientists who brief you and provide the lies for the newspapers, they're all making genuine mistakes. It may not have been a plot in collusion with Big Pharma, but there has been lie after lie after lie, day in, day out, from the very beginning. And yes, that characteristic constant decline as a factor is indeed characteristic of a normal distribution. Like the normal distribution that Imperial College showed you in its fake 510,000 estimate. 530,000 was March the 3rd. Like the normal distribution the government showed you to justify locking you down. Like the normal distribution that's a perfect fit for career, log normal so perfect the actual data obscures the model's pink line. You don't need charts, you need pitchforks, or this isn't going to end. Or worse, it'll end and they'll slink back and do it to you again in the future. And yes, normal like the UK cases was doing a reasonable job of looking like till it got close to peak. And normal didn't work as well as just keeping the cases and crises going. You think that's a virus at work, thinking it could use some more time at peak cases? It's the way a politician thinks, not the virus, not a dumb bio machine. And so those pink dots, the moving average of new cases, stay robustly above the green trend line. Every day, more cases than there should be because it's convenient. Or because they're testing. But do they reassure the public that it's over, we're just testing? No, they forgot that part. Like they forgot to mention that the rate was diminishing long before lockdown. Like they forgot to mention it was normal, not exponential. And like they forgot to mention, oh, by the way, lockdown isn't working. What should lockdown working look like? Here's the fraudulent exponential. At lockdown, the previously constant growth rate should crash as lockdown has an effect. With a declining normal growth rate, that gentle descent should turn into a steep dive as lockdown takes effect. Here's lockdown. Do you see any evidence of new case growth crashing thanks to lockdown? When the lies are remorseless, are there from the very beginning and get ramped up day after day, with now a new Netflix series to explain the virus, what point charts to show you've been lied to yet again? Where is the point in showing that time and again data are being manipulated, distorted, if it doesn't lead to an overthrow of the corrupt puppets leading the Muppets? That may sound harsh, but here's a simple truth. We're not going to win this. We're not going to miraculously file a court case. Court equals owned by government. Get a breakthrough media story in the press. Press equals controlled by government elite. Find a courageous newspaper reporter. Reporter equals paid by press owned by government elite. Have scientists stand up with the truth. Scientist equals paid for by government. Or senior medical staff break cover. NHS equals paid for by government. And all the while the children are learning. Clap for nurses. Big Brother loves you. It's time to save your sanity, get out from under the virus and do the best you can to live a normal life when every day is a lie. Because you are going to keep waking up and each day is going to be a lie. So you might as well adjust to that. The Romans have taken over your country. There is no freedom anymore. It is the darkest and most literal version of Orwell, and you let it happen. We all did. Year after year after year, we sat and submitted as this group and that group whined that life wasn't fair, that we weren't being fair, and government stepped in to stop us thinking unfair thoughts, to stop us thinking full stop, to stop us speaking out. And YouTube and Facebook made sure that if we weren't politically correct, we were blocked, as Voices for Truth are being blocked today. Organs with massive reach and power, privately owned, answerable to no one. His technology might have been primitive, but the Britain that was shocked and treated Orwell as a warning of what we must never allow has since 9/11 in particular, but more noticeably because of the many agendas, think of a group saying this isn't right, there's plenty of them, our very right to think, to express ourselves, has been curtailed. So before you waste any more time being subjected to the remorseless message of fear from Big Brother, switch off, turn away, and turn your attention instead to moving beyond the virus and moving beyond the government. I'm old, tired, and I'll keep doing what I do. If you're young, have a family, educate them, but more than anything, protect them. Protect their minds, protect their hearts, protect their will, and get out from under the virus and pray. Dream, pray, hope, whatever. Fake news and conspiracy theories. The mainstream campaign against independent thought has become. Fake news and conspiracy theories. The mainstream campaign against independent thought has begun. The Independent, appropriate enough, in this age of doublespeak, ran a piece on conspiracy theories, thriving under lockdown. It's 9/11 over again. If you can think, you're a threat. Was it Dr. Buttar? Is he shut down? I don't even notice. I keep typing and publishing until they shut me down. I would never have believed I could witness this in the UK, though year after year after year, I watched the remorseless tide of political correctness eroding any right we had to think, to have an opinion, to disagree. I hope they're proud, all of those who've been so vocal with agendas. I don't care what somebody does with their body. I do care when they screw with our minds. And so we are now royally screwed. So thank you. Get free, free your mind, invent a society that works, even if the only place it works is in your mind. You don't need our charts, you need and deserve your freedom. But sure, if you're going to be sticking around, here's the charts. I will note that I would have preferred to include death data, but that needs intense investigation. So for now, here's our standard look with EPP, that's recently observed phenomenon, so common now that we just refer to it as that. EPP, extended post-peak. In a normal distribution, viz. South Korea, the cases should drop as precipitously as they rose. Instead, the curves go flat, refusing to drop significantly. The result of the red herring testing, piling on the trivial cases that haven't turned serious, or intentional distortion. No idea, but the distortion is real regardless. Italy, declining EPP, extended post-peak. UK, horizontal EPP. Bravo, politicians. Another month maybe? Make it two, perhaps? Austria, Iceland, post-peak, declining. Denmark, EPP. Australia, New Zealand, done, but hearing bad stories. Pitchforks time. Iran, EPP. Belgium, Portugal, EPP level. Switzerland, EPP declining. Brazil, Mexico, Ecuador all climbing. Ecuador getting real, Hubei, but maybe choppily curling over. Finland, Greece, EPP. Malta, well done, coming off. Germany, Norway, EPP. Sweden approaching peak. Israel, EPP. Canada at peak. India still climbing, curling over. Indonesia at peak, Vietnam done, Taiwan no data point, running very late, as is Spain, with a drop in total cases, can't happen except by revision. Ireland, Spain, France, EPP, aka draw it out as long as possible. Wait for the vaccine, it's still coming regardless. Iraq, EPP, UAE curling over pre-peak, Pakistan curling over pre-peak. Singapore curling over, maybe just in time, Philippines flat EPP, Malaysia declining EPP. Netherlands declining EPP, Turkey just over peak, falling away, Russia out, still climbing. Poland, Hungary, remarkably or not in step, flat EPP, Croatia falling away nicely. South Africa, Algeria closely in step, resisting peak and climbing gently. Barbados falling away nicely, Zambia cracking result, barely touched. And for Americans living outside the twilight zone, here's two remarkably normal charts. USX New York and US California, EPP flat. Go figure. I don't really do love the gooey kind or tree-hugging kind, but I feel for you. I wish I could make it right, but I can't. All I can do is show you how wrong it is. What you can do about it is up to you. If my advice to escape seems like despair and inevitable failure, it certainly is partly that. But when the ship is sinking, not to act is foolish. The last remnants of Troy fleeing founded Rome, sadly. To borrow from Arthur, better they had died that day. The Essene family of Jesus, fleeing, arrested, put on a ship without food, oars, water, or sails, to die, recorded in Ecclesiastes, the official record of the Catholic Church, instead survived to establish colonies in France and the UK near Glastonbury. Refugees gave us the non-myth of Camelot and fair play. Refugees founded America. Refugees are our hope, even if they are refugees in place, refugees in their minds. The source once told me that there was one people who had never been conquered. It might have been Vietnam, else it was nearby. Throughout history, conquerors had come. The people adapted. They got on with their lives. For those who wonder what that looks like, a simple quote from a story many of you take seriously for some reason, regardless of your official position. Render unto Caesar. Be like water which can be corralled but never conquered. Slip through the fingers of those who would control you. Find channels to operate a society of fairness, when fairness and truth are nowhere to be found. I'm still Andrew Mather, 60 years old, 59 if you want to be picky. I am. For those that are curious, I'll be developing Pillis I Am as time allows. It's time to acknowledge the bigger story for those curious and comfortable with such matters. Feel free to get in touch, Andrew at peerlessreads.com, andrew@amather.com. Either should get to me.